The Great Mississippi Flood of 1927 remains one of the most catastrophic flooding events in U.S. history. Affecting thousands of square miles across several states, this disaster had profound humanitarian, economic, and political impacts that necessitated significant changes in the management of waterways in the United States. Understanding the factors leading to the flood, its immediate consequences, and the long-term effects can provide vital insights into American flooding disasters and environmental policy. Meteorological and geographic context. The origins of the Great Mississippi Flood can be traced to a series of severe weather conditions combined with the geographical characteristics of the Mississippi River Basin. The disaster was preceded by an unusually wet winter in 1926, during which the river received an unprecedented amount of rainfall. By the spring of 1927, many areas in the Mississippi River Valley were already saturated from the previous rains, followed by an influx of additional rainfall in April and May, leading to the river's overflowing banks. The Mississippi River, winding from Minnesota to Louisiana, has been a crucial waterway for transport and agriculture and plays a significant role in the surrounding ecosystems. However, the river's natural course was altered by levee systems and infrastructure designed to control its flow and prevent flooding. These man-made structures, while well-intentioned, had unintended consequences that would exacerbate the flooding crisis. The events leading to the flood by late April and early May of 1927, water levels along the Mississippi River were rising alarmingly. Levees designed to contain the river began to show signs of distress. On May 1, the first major breach occurred in the levee system near Cairo, Illinois. This initial failure set off a domino effect, as uncontrolled waters rushed into the surrounding provinces, inundating farmland and cities alike. As the floodwaters advanced, emergency efforts to reinforce weakened levees were severely hampered by the sheer scale of the inundation. Local communities, already struggling to cope with the rising rivers, witnessed their towns submerged, leaving families homeless and leading to a widespread humanitarian crisis. The humanitarian crisis as water levels rose, an estimated 700,000 people were displaced over a vast area from Illinois to Louisiana. The floodwaters ravaged local communities, where homes, schools, businesses, and agricultural land were lost. Entire towns were either submerged or destroyed, with the most affected areas being in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. The displacement led to severe humanitarian needs. Refugee camps were set up in various states, where survivors were housed in temporary shelters. However, these camps were often overcrowded and lacked sufficient food, sanitation, and medical care. Health issues flourished due to the unsanitary conditions, including outbreaks of diseases such as dysentery and malaria. Moreover, the societal impacts of the flood were deeply felt, particularly among African American communities who often face discrimination in both relief efforts and the recovery process. Many black families were relegated to the least desirable living conditions, leading to significant long-term socio-economic disparities. Economic consequences. The economic consequences of the Great Mississippi Flood were far-reaching. The immediate damage to agriculture was catastrophic, with millions of acres of farmland rendered useless for crops. The flood wiped out the cotton harvest in the South during a critical period, leading to financial ruin for many farmers whose livelihoods were tied to the cotton economy. Additionally, the flood disrupted transportation networks. Railways and roads were submerged, complicating recovery efforts and further hindering access to affected areas. The economic toll extended well beyond agriculture, affecting industries reliant on the Mississippi River for shipping and trade. Cities that relied on the river for commerce faced severe economic challenges, leading to widespread unemployment and loss of business. Political response and policy changes. The magnitude of the disaster galvanized a response from federal and state governments. In its aftermath, the Bureau of Levee Maintenance was established, and the Flood Control Act of 1928 was passed, which marked a significant shift in the U.S. approach to flood management. The act authorized the federal government to construct and maintain flood control projects, fundamentally changing the operations of the Army Corps of Engineers. The federal government began to invest heavily in a series of flood control measures, including extensive levee systems, floodways, and other water management infrastructure. While these measures were intended to prevent future disasters, they also led to new debates surrounding environmental management and the balance between natural ecosystems and human intervention. Cultural impact. The Great Mississippi Flood of 1927 also had a significant cultural impact, influencing literature, music, and public consciousness. The hardships faced by communities during the flood were captured in various forms, including songs from the Delta blues genre, which conveyed the pain and suffering experienced by those affected. These cultural works contributed to a broader understanding of the social conditions of the time, illustrating the resilience of communities and the struggles they faced. Additionally, the catastrophe galvanized social movements advocating for civil rights and equality. The disproportionate impact of the flood on African American communities sparked discussions around civil rights and systemic inequality.